Hi everyone, welcome to Everyday Gourmet. I'm Kevin Place, and in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you a couple of simple recipes that you can cook on a dorm on campus or in a house off campus to have easy gourmet meals that taste awesome. And so today we're going to look at the simplest recipe I know, salsa. We're going to do 3 different kinds of salsa, but the first salsa we're going to do is a classic tomato salsa or a Pico de Gallo. So I'm going to start with some Roma tomatoes. Now I chose to use a Roma tomato because a normal Hanover tomato, the round ones that you grow in your garden, have all those juices and seeds inside, and that can be kind of problematic when you're making a salsa because it gets all runny and gross. So I want to use a Roma tomato, which has a thicker side to it, so we have a nice meaty salsa. And so what I'm going to do to remove the few seeds that a Roma tomato does have is to chop off both ends and go ahead and throw those away. And then I'm going to use my knife, which is a nice little sharp edge knife with hollowed out sides that you can find at any grocery store. They're not too expensive. And just cut into the flesh here, make a nice little insert there, and then just move my knife around until I find that side of the wall, and then just cut, 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 cut. It's really easy. It just kind of falls right out of your hand. Don't be worried about it. It's easy, I promise. And you're going to remove all those seeds, and that just comes out real nice. Throw that away. And then I've got a nice little strip of tomato here. And with this strip, I can turn it down into little matchstick-sized pieces, which we like to call juliennes. And I'm just going to cut these down. And the motion here I'm using is not a forceful chop. It's a slice, because I have to cut right through that outer tomato skin. Salsas are a great way to practice your chopping techniques and your slicing techniques because there's so much slicing and dicing involved. So now that I've sliced them into these small little matchstick-sized pieces, I'm going to line them up and just mow them down and get them into nice little perfectly sized cubes, like that. Do that with these ones here. And this might look a little difficult at first, but really this is super easy. And it'll really help develop your knife skills when you're trying to cut something a little more challenging. All right, so there we go, and I've already prepped 5 other Roma tomatoes here, so I'm going to add my tomatoes to them. Awesome. Now I'm just going to wipe off my board to get all the tomato juice. My favorite tool in the kitchen as a chef is my kitchen towel, and it's the perfect thing to have. I like to keep it right on my shoulder here, and it's great for wiping off anything or dusting off a countertop or even holding hot pans. You don't even need an oven mitt. You can just grab it with your towel. All right, so next up for our dish, we're going to add some onion. And I'm going to use half of a red onion. I've cut the red onion in half and removed the outer skins and removed the root. And we're going to get to chopping. And there's lots of stories about how to chop an onion. And you might want to put a spoon in your mouth. I've heard that one before. Or have a piece of bread nearby to like soak up the onion juice that comes out and gets your eyes and makes you cry. But really, I think the best way to go about it is to have a nice, sharp knife and to do it quickly, as fast as you can without hurting yourself, and you shouldn't have a problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the onion vertically like this. We're going to do relatively small dice, about 1/4 of an inch. If you want to do bigger, you can do bigger, but I like to have it nice and small so that when you're eating the salsa, you don't have too much of a problem with getting a big chunk of red onion that's just going to completely wipe out your taste buds. And now I'm going to cut through the onion like this, just a couple of them, just to break up some of that arch shape that the half onion has. And then just like the tomato, we're going to mow it down into a dice. And this is the fun part, because you just go, 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 go. Perfect. And then we can throw away the root end. And now we're just going to go through the onion a couple more times just to get a nice even dice, make sure everything's broken up. Perfect. Now we can add that to our bowl here. All right, awesome. Now next up, we've got our spicy ingredient. Now every salsa includes our fruit, our tomato in this case. Most people don't think of tomato as a fruit, but it technically is, and it's got that sweetness to it. So we've got our fruit, then we've got normally an onion or some other aromatic vegetable, and then we have our spice. So we're going to use a jalapeno here today. And now we're not making too much salsa, so we're not going to use the whole jalapeno. So we're just going to cut it in half, take the root end off, that can be thrown out. Just go right down the middle and chop it in half. And we'll put this half aside. And you see right in here, we've got all these seeds and membrane, and that's what really makes this jalapeno super, super spicy. And every jalapeno is really different in heat index. So what we want to do is remove that now. And if we want to save the seeds for later, we can if we want to add some more heat. So I'm just going to scoop those membranes and all that light green part into our trash bowl here. getting out everything I can. So we just have a nice emerald green jalapeno. And I'm gonna go in and cut those matchstick sizes that I showed you before. But these ones are gonna be a little thinner than matchsticks, actually. They're gonna be very nice and thin so that we have tiny, tiny, tiny pieces of jalapeno so that it infuses spiciness throughout the dish, not just in big chunks. You want to make these super small, like smaller than 1/8 of an inch. So you want to get those nice and thin, and then we're going to go here and just take your time and just chop, 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 just very lightly and very short little motion back and forth to keep this down into these tiny little jewel-like pieces of jalapeno. All right, so there we go. You see how nice and small those are? All right, so now we can add those to our onions. Perfect. And now after you've chopped a jalapeno, do not go and rub in your eyes or anywhere on your face or even anywhere else in your body, because you're going to have all that spiciness and that acid from the jalapenos all over your hands. And if you put it in anything, it's really just going to burn up and it's not going to be pleasant. So make sure you wipe off your hands and thoroughly wash your hands after you're done making this recipe. All right, so next up, we're going to get our herbs chopped. And so cilantro is the classic herb for this dish, and a lot of people don't like cilantro, but I really do. But if you don't like it, don't use it. That's kind of my theory. You shouldn't be forced to put something in a dish just because you think it's supposed to go there. If you don't like it, don't put it in. But I am going to put it in because I like it. I think it gives a nice floral flavor to this dish. So I've got just about half a bunch of cilantro that I picked up from the supermarket, and I'm just going to rock back and forth with my knife. Do this as quickly as possible and as cleanly as possible, because you want to bruise the cilantro as little as possible, because if you bruise it, it's going to have this kind of weird brown, black color, and it's not going to look pretty. But if you just get it down to a nice size, but it's still green, that's perfect. And this is a pretty rustic salsa. We don't need to worry about it being absolutely perfect. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. It's a nice consistency. Maybe 1 or 2 more goes through. And then perfect, so let's start combining. All right, so I've got a nice big bowl here. Into that bowl, I'm gonna add our tomatoes. Whoops, some runaways. Woo! Not so coordinated today, am I? All right, and then I've got our jalapeno and onion mixture, and that can go right in. And then I'm gonna add some cilantro, and you kind of wanna eyeball this. There's no super way to measure. Sometimes you get more cilantro than you want, sometimes less, so just see. So I put a good amount in there because I like it, and then you can stir that up and kind of get an idea how much you have. Perfect, that's looking great. All right, now, to kind of pull this together, I'm gonna add some lime. Now, lime will bring that acidity that we removed from the tomatoes, but we don't want to put too much so it's not like a pucker-inducing salsa. So I'm just gonna use half a lime, and I'm just gonna chop into this puppy. Perfect. And now, the best trick for getting the juice out of a lime is to just stick your fork in there and twist and try to get as much out as you can. You really try to break up that cell structure in there so all those juices just come flowing out into your salsa. All right, awesome. That smells great. I just love the smell of lime. It just smells like summer to me. All right, so that's good. So that can go into our trash bowl there. All right, perfect. Now let's see. Got our salsa here. It's got some beautiful purple from the onion and red and green. It's really just a color fiesta. And last but not least, we got to make sure to season. And you could put some pepper in here. I think the black pepper is not super necessary since we have the heat from the jalapeno. So I'm just going to use some salt, and I've got some coarse sea salt here. Just sprinkle it in. And what the salt is going to do is start to bring out some of those juices from the tomato and really deepen that flavor. And I think the biggest mistake that a lot of home chefs make is that they don't season things enough. They don't put enough salt in. And really, you just got to, don't be afraid to use salt. People say it's so bad for you, but really, you're using so little in your home cooking compared to prepared foods that it's not something that you should be worried about unless you're heaping salt in there. So make sure you put in salt and then grab a spoon to taste with to make sure everything's to your liking. That's good. Perfect summery tomato salsa. All right, well, thanks for watching. We'll have another salsa episode coming up right next.